Hi, this is the Newton Free Library Librarians, and we are sharing with you today some of our nonfiction books from our book list for going into 5th grade.
Hi, this book is called Can You Hear the Trees Talking? Discovering the Hidden Life of the Forest, and it's written by Peter Wolben. This is a fascinating book about how trees can actually talk to each other, how they take care of each other, how they communicate with each other, how you have parent trees that actually look out for their baby trees, and what happens if, for example, loggers come along and kill one of the parent trees, and what that does really to the other trees in the entire community and forest. And you learn about all of the animals that live in the forest as well as you go along. Lots of really cool facts. So, for example, there are, of course, most trees that drink in water through their roots, but some trees are better at planting than other trees. And so if it is, there's not enough water, they will sort of limit how much water they take in from the ground to make sure that there's water later on. But the other trees are a little more greedy and don't carefully take control. And so the careful trees can pass on messages to the greedier trees to watch out what they're doing and even share some of their own water with those trees. We also have all kinds of tree record holders. So for example, the tallest tree in the world grows on a hillside in California, 380 feet tall. So that's as tall as a really big cathedral and very strong. But its roots are very sensitive because they're not very far below the earth. So where its exact location is a secret so that no one goes to visit it and possibly end up hurting it. It used to be that scientists thought that spruce trees could live to be up to about 500 years old. And then they found a particular spruce in Sweden, examined it more carefully, and found that it's actually 10,000 years old. So you can learn about these record tree holders in the book. And of course, you learn about how the trees do, in fact, communicate with each other. So there is one example that when the leaves on a certain tree are being eaten by a giraffe. So first of all, they try to protect themselves by pumping poison into their leaves, but they also give off a gas to warn their neighbors that a giraffe is on the way so that the neighbors can start pumping the poison into leaves from the very beginning. So all kinds of really interesting stuff in this book. Can you hear the trees talking?
Nonfiction book, and we always like to have lots of nonfiction books on your list because some of you are just nonfiction kind of people. This is called Hours to Share Coexisting in a Crowded World. So it describes what it is like to have all kinds of people throughout the world all crowded together. And there's a really nice description of the difference between refugees, immigrants, and immigrants. And I thought I would read this to you because it is so clear. People leave their homes for different reasons. Those who are forced to leave their country to escape war, persecution, or a natural disaster are refugees. People who move from place to place in search of seasonal work, like harvesting crops, are known as migrants. People who voluntarily leave their homes and move to another country, often to improve their standard of living, are called emigrants when they leave their home country, and immigrants when they arrive in a new country. So those are your differences between refugees, migrants, emigrants, and immigrants. And then there's a really, really nice bit in here about how you can help out in your own community. So you can set up your own little library, which is a great way of building community. You can help out in a food bank. You can help clean up the beach or along the Charles River. Just some really great ideas about how to share your world, how to share your community. And our last book is called 100 Things to Know About Planet Earth. This is another wonderful nonfiction book, all about different things about our planet Earth. So here's information about the world's biggest waterfall. The world's biggest waterfall is an underwater waterfall. The Angel Falls in Venezuela is the world's tallest waterfall on land. But under the sea, between Iceland and Greenland, there is a waterfall 3 times higher. It's called the Denmark Strait Cataract. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Here's another bit I'd like to mention. Antarctica was covered in forest 100 million years ago. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Today, Antarctica is covered in barren ice, but fossils show that 100 million years ago it was a lush forest. Trees needed sunlight to grow, but the region is completely dark for many months of the year, so scientists are particularly interested in how these forests actually survived. So you'll have to read more to find out. Here's another bit about an underground rainforest. An underground rainforest is growing in the world's largest cave. Hang Son Doong in Vietnam is the largest cave on Earth. It has a river running through it and a lush underground rainforest. Again, who knew? I had absolutely no idea. And then the last bit I'd like to read about is costumes, wigs, and props were once essential on polar expeditions. In the 19th century, polar explorers sailed into the Arctic Circle in search of new sea routes, uncharted islands, and the North Pole. They took with them everything necessary for survival, including stage props and costumes. What made these items so essential is that near the Earth's poles, the sun sinks below the horizon for 6 months of the year. Explorers found that the sea would freeze as the cold, dark winter months approached, halting their progress. The water would often stay frozen from August until June. As a result, expedition ships could spend 10 months of the year locked in ice, unable to sail, until the sea would briefly thaw again. Now, this is a particularly important point for you to remember, and it's totally appropriate for what's going on with us today. Spending months shut up in cold, cramped vessels, men could become bored, morose, and cranky, and their mental health would have suffered. So, to keep up morale, explorers put on plays, gave lectures, and played concerts for their crewmates. So, if you are feeling bored, morose, and cranky, why don't you put on your own play, lecture to your family, or play some music?